evening and welcome to the Market Dominators Real Estate Podcast here from Buffalo, New York. We are so excited to beginning this podcast. My name is John Spaschak, Associate Real Estate Broker with Keller Williams Realty, and I am here with the amazing award-winning agent and buyer specialist of the Market Dominators, Mr. Scott Catillus. How are you, my good man?
Hey, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Pleasure to be here today. Thanks for tuning in and joining us.
Awesome. So listen, why are we doing this podcast is the question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's time to bring what we do to all of you. Let's pull back the curtain and allow everybody to see what it is we do, how we do it, and how important it is to have the right representation in this business when you go to buy or sell a property, particularly in a market like we're in.
Yes, absolutely. I agree 100%. Real estate is a huge part of really a lot of what makes our economy go round. And obviously, you need a place to sleep at night. You need a roof over your head. Everybody needs housing. And so the representation that goes into purchasing that housing is huge. And there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we as real estate agents do. And so we want to be able to bring a little bit of that to you guys and really give you a clue of the inner workings of so many aspects of real estate.
And how you can win at every turn.
Yeah.
So we are going to start this YouTube channel that we're creating. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please.
Market Dominators Team on YouTube, and like it and subscribe. We appreciate that support. Yeah. And we will continue week in and week out to bring you value. We're going to have this 30-minute podcast every week. We're going to have all kinds of other videos, anything from as low as 10-second little TikTok type videos to 4 to 6 minute, maybe educational videos on real estate, at everything that from A to Z through the process of buying or selling a home and transacting business when it comes to your real property. So without any further ado, we would like to kind of maybe open this up by sharing a little bit about our approach to the business, because I think that is really critically important.
I agree.
So
absolutely.
This first episode, we kind of just want to show you our approach to the business and then give you guys an opportunity to get to know us a little bit personally. And then as we go in and week out, we're going to really, drill down and get into the nitty gritty. So what do you say?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. So what is our approach to the business? Well, we have a little video we'd like to show you that we've done. And so here it is. So basically what we just wanted to do is just tell you a little bit about ourselves, the Market Dominators, what we do, who we are. And most people think we sell houses, because we do sell. A lot of them get sold in the process, being, consistently ranked in the top 100 and top 1% of realtors here in Western New York. It's interesting because we really don't sell houses. We really are, what do we like to say? We're
life transition specialists.
Yes, and that sounds a little corny, but let me explain. So, there's only really about 6 or 7 reasons why people buy and sell houses. You have first-time buyers, you have second-time buyers, they grow their family, they need a house.
Yep.
Then you have people who, they struggle and they go through a divorce, unfortunately, the house has to get sold.
Yeah.
You have people who, they grow their family and the kids move off to college and their own lives and they empty nest and they got to downsize, right? You have people that relocate because of a job. And unfortunately, you have people who do pass and the house has to get sold.
Yeah.
And then you also have investors. We don't really deal with investors a ton, but we really specialize in those transitions that people are going through in their lives, and we try to get behind those. That's the approach we've taken. The other approach we've taken is, we've been very educational in what we do. And so, if you want to speak to me, even our logo,
Yeah, really. So the Market Dominators logo, if you look at it, there's a graduation cap on the very end of it, and that's meaningful. That's not just there just kind of for fun, but really we want to educate people and take them through the process of buying a home. We are all about not just customer service. Customer service is, somebody in a cubicle sitting on one end of a phone taking complaints or calls, and
Maybe
then
in
being
another
done.
country too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and then and they're moving on to the next customer. Get them off as fast as they can and move on. We're all about client care, and we are really about partnering with people, stepping next to them hand in hand and walking alongside them as they go through this journey, which sometimes based on where they're at in their life, it can be emotional. It can be a huge transition. So we're honored to partner with people, and we believe that when we educate them and when we walk alongside them, they're better after it.
Oh, yeah. And, you bring up an interesting point because we get to do what we do. And that's the kind of attitude we have in our approach. At the end of the journey, when we get to hand those keys over, it can be emotional. And there's people who it takes them many months to get through the process. And it's, sometimes a lifelong dream for them to have home ownership. And, people are going through difficult times in their lives at certain periods, and they need to transition. And so it's important that we get behind the people. The relationships is really the most important part of what we do. So preparing them from an educational perspective is absolutely key, because we don't make decisions for people. We want to coach them, train them, teach them, educate them to make the best decisions on their behalf as possible. And yeah, definitely at the end of the road, it's they're the better for it. They feel better about themselves.
They're empowered.
Yeah, they're empowered. That's a great
They did
word.
it. It was their decision. It was their goal that they hit.
Yeah.
We love it.
So listen, I'm John Spaschak, Associate Real Estate Broker with the Market Dominators at Keller Williams.
I'm Scott Katilis, licensed real estate salesperson with Keller Williams Realty.
And we are the Market Dominators. We are so... Yes, we are the Market Dominators, and that is essentially our approach. We love on our clients.
Yep.
And we want to guide them through with care. And so I love the way that you broke that down in terms of like measuring the difference between the client care versus the customer service.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is. It's huge. There's just a certain level of people come into purchasing anything with a certain expectation of they're going to be sold on something. They might even be pressured into something, even when it comes to buying a house. And so our approach is very, very hands off, in the sense of we give the people all the ammunition that they need to make a good decision that makes the most sense for them and their family. We educate them so that they feel good about the decision that they make. We don't make it for them.
Awesome. So that brings me to one thing that I think it's important that we update everybody with is we've kind of rebranded or added maybe to the branding approach. And you kind of saw it in our little intro video that, what are we going to do?
We educate,
we advocate,
we negotiate,
and we dominate. Yes. So we have an attitude around here that. So there you have it. We look to train and really bring forth the most cutting edge tools and technologies and strategies to the table so that we can properly advocate and negotiate, and in the end, dominate. So that's really our approach. And so that's what we're going to do through this whole podcast, through this whole YouTube channel. Again, subscribe if you haven't already, and like our channel. But let's get on to what we're going to talk about today, which is kind of letting you behind the curtain a little bit as to who we are personally, because we all have a story, right? We all have a story. So who are the Market Dominators? So Scott, share with us a little bit about who you are quickly. Maybe, do you have a family? Like, how'd you get into the real estate business? What's your experience? And what do you love about real estate?
So I'll tell you, I have lived in Buffalo, New York my entire life. My family, I grew up in Elma and went to Iroquois High School, had a great life growing up. and have always been here. Even for college, I went to Buff State. I stayed locally, so I've
Buffalo
always,
State, that
Buffalo
would be
State
for
College.
the people who don't live around here.
Call it Buff State. And so really my heart has always been here in Buffalo. I've never had a desire to move, relocate, go anywhere else. And so when I went to college, I went for industrial technology. And after a couple of years, really realized that that wasn't a field that I was very passionate about. So I actually ended up dropping out of college and, sort of
flunked out of college.
Flunked out. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yep,
drop out.
Yep.
Beauty school dropout.
No degree. So I ended up in a sort of weird way applying to sell cars for West Her. I like cars. When I was younger, was really, really into
So like
cars.
West Her's it's like one of the largest automobile groups
Right.
in Western New York. And
Yeah.
they actually are one of the largest in the country, right?
In the country, yeah.
Yeah.
They're consistently anywhere from, 25 to 30 in terms of largest automobile dealer group in the country. West Her is a fantastic company here. They do so much for the community. Really a customer first type of company that I was
why
proud
leave
to
them
join.
then?
So I was there for almost 9 years, from the time
Wow.
that I was 21 and started selling Chevrolets to the time that I ended up, again, in a funny way, realizing I wanted to move into real estate. And was when I met you. I was dating my wife. We were both selling cars for West Her. We bought our first house, which was little Cape Cod in a town called Blaisdell, the village of Blaisdell. And we had our first son, Parker. And so we realized after Parker got a little bit older that this starter home probably wasn't going to really work long term. And that was near the end of 2018. We had purchased that house at the beginning of 2016. So we weren't even there for 3 years. It was relatively short time. And we had just started to kind of hear and pay attention to the real estate market heating up. We were hearing things like people are offering over asking. There's multiple offers. The prices are crazy. So we knew in the back of our mind, hey, we're not going to stay here forever anyway. We never intended for this to be a forever home. Let's take advantage of the market now. We wanted to have more kids. Let's just upgrade now, right? Let's move into our forever home. And so I had gotten to know your son, Logan, in working with church. I am very involved in my church. And at the time I was involved in our high school student ministry. Logan was involved in your church's student ministry at Life Church. And our student ministries, our groups were doing stuff together. So I met Logan. He, of course, inevitably told me that his dad sells real estate and that if I ever wanted to buy a house, sell a house, to give you a call. And so, hey, long story short, that's what I did, right?
And so one day the Market Dominator ended up in your kitchen.
In the kitchen, telling me what to do, how to get the house ready to sell, and going through the whole process. And we were...
now, wait a minute. Let's just stop right there.
Okay, we'll stop.
Okay, stop right there. So I'm not sure that's what happened, because I've been pretty true to form.
Give me your rendition.
Well, the first thing that happened is when I got to your kitchen, the only thing I did was educate, right? Educate.
Yep.
So you were telling me you were hearing these things in the market, and I said, okay, well, yes, some of that could be true. Some of it might not be true.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all relative to your property and what your goals are. So share with me what's going on here. So then you shared, and then I educated. You shared, and I educated. You shared, and I educated. And at that point, you were ready to make a decision on your own, as you say. And when we talk about our approach,
right,
those were your decisions. So I wasn't telling you anything.
Yep.
I was listening and then educating.
Yeah.
Right.
I do remember walking away from the conversation and having a ton of clarity that I didn't have before, because all I had heard was everybody's opinion about real estate and, these third party sites telling me things. So to get a real look at it, up close, personal, obviously how it would specifically relate to mine and my wife's situation was very eye-opening.
So what happened?
So we ended up putting it up for sale.
Okay.
And we ended up going out and looking at houses.
All right.
And got one under contract.
All right.
On a little street called Queens Lane, where I live now. Sold that house. The little one in Blaisdell.
You sold the little one in Blaisdell.
Sold the little one in
How'd you do
Blaisdell.
on it?
Did great on it.
Okay.
I had a number in my mind that I was like, man, if we could get this number, I'd be super happy. And we got more than that.
Yeah. Yeah. We surpassed that, right?
Yeah. And so we were able to transition, pull equity out of that starter home, put it into our next home, move in, get comfortable. And at the end of that transition, I say it's a transition because it's a life transition. That's what we call it. As we were leaving your office, you had just literally, we were walking out the front door and you said, hey, I just want to mention, have you ever considered selling real estate? I think you'd be really good at it. And I kind of, yeah, well, I'm really comfortable at Wester. I've been selling cars. At that time, I think it might have been 7 years I'd been selling cars. I was very comfortable doing my thing. I had a groove. I had a lot of repeat clients, repeat customers. It was like,
you were doing well.
I'm good.
That's why I said you should consider real estate.
Exactly. And I thought about that for, 6 months. I just kind of mulled it over in the back of my mind. And finally, I think I called you and said, you know what? You said, let's go sit down, have some coffee and talk about it. Let's do it. And that's exactly what we did. We went out, we met at a Tim Hortons. You gave me the rundown of really what it entails getting your real estate license, because I didn't know. And I did it. I got the license. There's a course. I did the real estate licensing course, passed my exams, got my license.
Now, wait a minute. As someone who dropped out of Buff State, you were able to go and get your real estate license and pass the exam?
I was able to do it. Yes. Finally succeeded and put something on paper. It was good. But I remember when we were having that conversation at that Tim Hortons, you said, I'm not recruiting you to come work on my team. I just think you should come to Keller Williams. I can teach you some stuff, but it's going to be you. You're going to be on your own. And I said, okay, great. I get that. That's fine. But once I got my license and started getting my feet wet in the industry, I was doing really both jobs. I was still selling cars, but I was also learning the world of real estate, going out, showing houses, learning what it really means to represent people, because I had really no concept of that prior. And ultimately, in March of 2020, this little thing called COVID happened and the whole world shut down.
COVID? What's that?
Yeah, I know. Who knows that word? It was funny. My second son, Chase, was born on March 4th of 2020. And not 2 weeks later, the whole world was shut down.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here wondering, okay, what's next? What are we going to do? I had this plan in the back of my mind that at that point I would transition out of selling cars, but then COVID sort of put it on the back burner a little bit. But you ended up calling me, and
I did.
Why don't you give us that quick snapshot of that kind
Yeah.
of
So I have diabetes, right? I live with an insulin pump attached to me. Thankfully, otherwise I'd be with the good Lord now. And instead I get to experience life to the fullest with my family because of that pump. But when COVID hit, man, my wife was like, Kelly's like, you're not going near the front door.
Lock it down.
Yeah. Close the windows. We're wiping down the mail and the groceries. And, we just didn't know what was going to happen. And the state of New York here had kind of shut real estate down. We were not an essential business.
Right.
And so we could only transact business after like 2 or 3 weeks. It was like you could do virtual showings.
Right.
And I like the way that we do it. And we're going to get into this in this podcast over time about how thorough we are and going over the 6 majors of a home and breaking it down almost like a home inspector, even though we're not licensed home inspectors, but we break it down. Our home inspector has taught us a tremendous amount about the home. And so it's very important for us to take our time on a showing and go through it. And for us to not be there, I'm like, I couldn't wrap my brain around that. And so I called my clients and said, can't do anything. We're on hold till this whole COVID thing passes. And of course that had no end in sight at that time.
Yeah.
And I had one client who was a young couple. They were pregnant and they were like, John, this isn't happening. Like, we're buying a house virtually or not. We don't care. We are going to be out of this apartment by the time we have this baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh boy. Okay. I said, all right, let me get back to you. And so I hung up with them and I went to my wife and I said, Kelly, this couple, I'm going to have to refer them to somebody else. They said, Kelly said, well, what about Scott? So I thought, let me think about this. So I called you and I said, Scott, would you be willing to go and show up on site? Nobody there, just your phone, get on a Zoom call with us from your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at my desk and the clients were at home and we were all together on a Zoom call. And man, what I learned there was incredible because you could zoom in on the chimney. You could, I was able to see things I couldn't even see if I was there physically myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it went very, very well to my surprise. And
well.
they purchased that home.
Yep.
And then over the course of the next few weeks, I think we put together 5 more deals. And what I didn't realize, and I'm not sure you did either at that time, is because you weren't really speaking on those calls. You were just,
I was like the joystick.
Yeah.
Scott, go here. Look at that. Zoom in there. Okay.
Exactly. And yeah. So, but what I didn't realize is, had I created my own best training regimen, if I was going to bring you on the Market Dominators team, I couldn't have picked a better way than what ended up happening, because after those 6 deals that we did, we started, it started to open up in COVID. So it was like, okay, now buyers could come and one buyer could go in at a time.
Right.
And then it was like, okay, they can go in, but you couldn't go in.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, you could all go in together. It was just nuts what happened. You had to wipe everything down. And
it was
you had
changing
gloves
every week.
And masks, and it was changing every week.
Yep.
But as it began to open up, I was still under lock and key because of my condition. So, I said, okay, why don't you go meet them? Now you're meeting the buyers. And so there is time for you to interact before we get on a call, and you're bringing me in on the Zoom. And, I'm still kind of running the showing, but then I kind of was like, goofy, you're there. I'm running the showing on Zoom. It's kind of weird. So I was like, why don't you do it? I'm there watching you, and, I'll bonus you a little more. And all of a sudden I started witnessing you repeating some very educational word tracks that I use, and started to do things the way that I really want them done.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. I remember literally after one of those showings, standing up from my desk, and we got off the call, and I yelled to Kelly in the other room, "You're not going to believe this, but I just watched a live protege of myself doing a showing." And it was like really eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
And so it enabled me to have a little bit more trust in you and what you were doing. And the more and more we did this, by the time, July hit, I think, I'll throw it back over to you. I think you made a major decision with your West Her Group, Auto Group. And then August came, and so you go ahead. And
so, I mean, really over the summer, we were busy, things were not back to normal, but in general, the world was getting used to COVID and wearing masks and being a little more cautious about stuff. So we ended up getting to a point, I ended up getting to a point where I realized, hey, I can't sell cars and serve our clients buying and selling real estate and do both really well. I can't do that anymore. And when I really had that realization, I knew I obviously had to pick one and let the other go. And I wouldn't have started to get into real estate, into this space, if I didn't intend for that to be the one that I would pick. So end of July 2020 was my, last month at West Her. Left on great terms, nothing but respect for that company, and Scott Bueller, the CEO, just they do great things. They taught me a lot that I know
fantastic
today.
Company here in Buffalo, New York. We're proud to have them here serving our community.
Yeah. So left on a good note, and we officially joined up as the Market Dominators team. What, a month later?
a month later, we had to do some contractual things
Mm-hmm.
and
Put it on paper.
put it on paper and lay out some structure and some
Mhm.
goals and
Yep.
and away we
Away
went.
we went. Yeah.
And it's been a fun ride, a very successful ride, but a rewarding ride.
Very
So,
rewarding.
yeah,
Very rewarding.
very rewarding.
We had a great 2021. We had a bunch of goals in place, different metrics that we were measuring. We surpassed all of them,
Yeah.
and we couldn't have been happier. And 2022 has been starting off just as great.
Yeah. And I don't anticipate the market changing direction yet. I mean, there's a lot of chatter in the market about we're going to have a crash, the economy is going to crash, inflation, and all these things are very real things. I mean, go to the grocery store right now, and if you're not looking at what your bill is when you check out, then you're either dead or you got your head in the sand, or you're so rich it doesn't matter to you. But it is crazy. I filled up my truck yesterday. It was $94.78.
Yep.
I looked at it like, what?
Yeah. It's mind-boggling.
So it's it is a problem. But you know what? When you are faced with a challenge,
Mhm.
it's important to take the right attitude. That's right. Attitude is everything. So we're going to take the attitude that we are going to move forward. We are going to plan. We're going to continue to stay on top of the cutting edge strategies that win in any market and apply it to the market we're in.
Right.
So through educate, through advocate, through negotiate, and through dominate, through that slogan, we're going to live and breathe what we do in servicing and helping our clients through these life transition.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about me, John. Give me, in so many words, you're a little older than me. You got a little more history, let's say.
Old enough to be your dad, I like to say. I don't know why I like to say that, but
tell me.
Old.
Yeah, right. Tell me now. I know you haven't always lived in Buffalo. You didn't grow up.
So I grew
here.
up on the Jersey Shore. If you told me that I would be living in Buffalo, I would have said, put that cocktail down. You've had too many. But I got to tell you, about 23 years ago, I moved here. I have my former wife and 2 kids that I had with her, which were just life's huge, one of my greatest blessings in life are my children. And they were very young at the time. And my former wife is from East Aurora, New York, which is a suburb of Buffalo. It's a great place to raise a family. And I said, okay, I'll be up next week. And I packed everything I had and put it in a moving truck and moved here and found an apartment. And, I stepped down. I was coaching college basketball at NYU and stepped down and came here really without a job. And fortunately, I got hired at Canisius College, a NCAA Division I school, to coach basketball, which was, the love of my life. After about 4 years, things didn't work out. The athletic director there that did some things that were, inappropriate. And, a lot of people ended up not having their contracts renewed. And so I got into the uniform business because I had so many connections, and that got stale for me. And my sister was in real estate and had always told me, you need to get into real estate. You need to get into real estate.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. Like, I saw my road being somewhere associated with athletics,
Mm-hmm.
And although I could have stayed in coaching and took another job somewhere else, it would have meant I had to relocate. And I just wasn't going to relocate because my children were here in Western New York. And so,
right.
Not long after that, I got remarried and have been remarried now. Next month will be 20 years.
Wow.
And
awesome.
we have a a son who you'll see on this podcast quite a bit. His name is Jonah. He's
Our
8
man,
years old,
Jonah.
and he's the Market Dominator Junior right now. And
Yeah.
before Parker begins to step up and be his partner, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I ended up getting into real estate about 10 years ago, and man, I just kicking myself that I hadn't done it sooner.
Right.
And
Me too.
you know, you go to real estate school, you're learning how to get your license.
Yeah.
And then you get your license and you start at a brokerage, you got to learn how to do the deal.
Yeah.
They don't teach you how to do the deal in real estate school.
Right.
Fortunately, I had a lot of experience in dealing with this type of sale, like a process sale, where you don't really sell, you serve.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was recruiting nationally for NCAA Division I scholarships, you're really recruiting the whole family. And it takes time, and you have to get into relationship, and you have to learn a little bit about who these people are, because you only have so many spots on your roster.
Yeah.
And you just can't fill them with somebody who's talented enough to play the game. There's so much more that happens off the court that it's really critically important that they fit into your program.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have to also win out of it. So you have to make sure the school that you're offering, that you're at, is something that's a good fit for them academically and career-wise. What are they going to walk away with at the end of this?
Right.
So there's a puzzle there, and there's a picture that you have to work at crafting and building. And, you know, there's some art and there's some science involved in it.
Yeah.
And it's not unlike real estate in that sense. You're taking a family through a transition of life, and it's a process, right?
It's not just one-sided.
No,
Not just one-sided.
So it's you know, so I got into real estate, and eventually I landed with Keller Williams, which I then learned after a year or two in real estate of having a lot of success. Why did I start at this particular brokerage? And I started studying real estate models, company models, and realized I was at the wrong model, even though I had a tremendous amount of success. And, you know, I was winning awards, and, you know, it was wonderful. I just, you know, as I put my goals together and evaluated my business plan, I realized that I was leaving a lot of money on the table. I wasn't partnering with the right people. And I got into doing real estate with Keller Williams. So that's where I'm at now. And then I developed the Market Dominator brand and the approach.
Right.
And now you have, you know, these years later have joined me, and I'm just thrilled. I'm thrilled that we get to do what we do, as I talked earlier on that approach.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love serving at my church and helping to grow God's kingdom, as you and I are so aligned on that.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, we obviously don't, you know, we don't force our faith on people, but probably we get more people asking us about our faith than we do just blanketly coming out and sharing it with them because of the way we live, the way, you know, the goodness and joy of the Lord in our lives. And so that is a big part of what we do.
Right.
Is it's kind of our secret ingredient, you know, as to what we do.
Jesus makes it all better.
Yeah. So our goal with the whole podcast is, you know, to move on and not really talk so much about us, but more about the value of what we do for people.
Yep.
And we want to have segments on this podcast that involve our clients.
Yes.
That share the success and celebrate the success of what those clients are achieving.
Yeah.
As they go through and join the Market Dominator experience.
Yep.
And the windfalls that some of them have had is just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, we just had a family, we just sold a home. We helped these clients buy the home 2 years ago, a little less than 2 years ago, 1 month shy of 2 years. And, I mean, you're going to pay capital gains, a percentage of capital gains in less than 2 years, even if it's your primary property.
Yeah.
That's how short a time it was. And, we sold the house, and they're relocating. That's why they had to move, for job reasons. They took a better job and they moved a few states away. And these people, I mean, if you buy a house, you can't really expect in 2 years, when you buy it with 3.5% down and don't like throw balloon payments at your mortgage, 2 years later to sell it and walk away with tens of thousands of dollars of equity.
Yeah.
And in our market, that's what happens. A lot of markets around the country, this is what's happening. But we were able to even push our market. We're still pushing the prices on our market.
Right.
And we have really some cutting edge strategies that we use to do that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it has to do with like, know your market, right?
Yes.
Know your market.
Yes.
And then you have to educate your client on the market.
Yep.
So that they can make decisions. And then when they go to market, we want to advocate for them in the market.
Right.
And then when they land on a property, what do we want to do?
We got to negotiate.
We got to negotiate.
On that property.
We got to be professional, successful negotiators on behalf of our clients.
Yeah.
And, continually, we don't stop educating. We don't stop advocating as we go through each of these steps.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, when we get them under contract and we've negotiated a deal, we've landed into the area of domination. We dominate.
Yeah.
Because listen, you're dealing with buyers.
Mm-hmm.
How many agents right now have buyers and they cannot find them a home or they cannot win them a deal?
Tons.
It's crazy.
Plenty. I talk to lots of agents that I hear, this is our 15th offer. This is our 20th offer. I want to knock on wood. Haven't gotten anywhere near those high numbers, but it's a tough market.
Why?
I think because of our approach and the way that we serve people.
Yeah.
It's very easy for me to show a house, put an offer on paper, send it out. There's lots of agents that do that. No disrespect to those agents, but that strategy doesn't get you results.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
You have to be creative. And so what part of what we do and how we win are using creative strategies.
Yeah.
So we're going to dig into all of this, guys.
Yep.
We're going to dig into all of it. We're going to break houses down, talk about the 6 majors. We're going to talk about interest rate. We're going to talk about mortgages. We're going to talk about movers, moving, staging, you name it. We will cover it on this podcast, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Now, if you notice, we're a little bit sad still. Probably will be until, I don't know,
next year.
Maybe next year at this time when the Bills are in the Super Bowl. But yesterday, the Rams had their parade in Los Angeles, and it was 55 degrees here in Buffalo. And we were thinking, man, what a great day it would have been for the Bills parade.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Oh man, but we love our Bills, and we just say you gotta believe. We believe in our Bills here. So, but we are going to join you every week, and we are going to come to you with valuable, relevant, cutting edge information in a fun, interactive way. We'll have guests on at different times.
Yep.
We'll open it up for comments at different times, for questions. We want you to experience value. There's a lot of podcasts out there that you could be listening to, and we want you to get something out of tuning into our podcast.
Absolutely. And if you know anybody that is currently trying to step into the real estate market, maybe you've got friends or family that are talking about selling a home or buying a home, or maybe both, share with them our channel and introduce them to who we are. They can start to follow our channel and
Market Dominators team,
and
YouTube,
really kind of learn as they sort of step into this space. And obviously we would be honored to help them personally represent them in the market. But, if you know anybody, feel free to share our channel. We'd be honored.
Yeah, absolutely. And please, 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 please subscribe to the Market Dominators team on YouTube. And you could even hit that little bell button that'll give you notifications as to when a new video has been posted. And updates and that kind of thing. So we're going to dig into this, and we're going to be consistent about it. Our goal is to post 100 videos in 2022, which is a pretty valiant goal. but I believe
do it.
we will get it done.
Yeah.
So without any further ado, go Bills.
Go Bills.
Yes. So thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks,
And
everyone.
we'll see you next week.
Thank you.